wanted to go over Ironman VR Championship Series that they just came out with. So they sent this out Sunday, and it's an opportunity to qualify for 70.3 Worlds 2020 doing virtual racing. So this is kind of a new deal. It's a game changer. It's kind of the direction they wanted to go when they first brought out the VR series. They rolled this out, my understanding, a little bit ahead of schedule what they wanted to because of the pandemic, just to keep people engaged, give them something to kind of do. So if you've done the Classic series, you've done the Challenger series, it's a little bit more strict. Had to do the both runs outside, and you had to do the ride on the Ruby app on the course that they did for the weekend. So actually, I don't think you even need to do the course on the weekend, but the Championship series, they're laying out the rules, and they're making it a little bit more stringent, and we'll kind of get into the rules. But right now, no races are happening. Maybe 70.3 Lubbock on June 28th, but this is an opportunity to do some racing virtually and qualify for 70.3 Worlds 2020. Now, keep in mind, the Worlds 2020 has been postponed, and they don't have a makeup date yet. So keep that in your mind if you really want an opportunity to go and do this race. The race date and everything is kind of up in the air, and how most events work, if you go qualify in person, right there on the spot, you have to sign up for the race and pay your entry fee. So if you're on the fence and you do this and somehow you qualify, be ready. You're going to have to fork over the entry fee pretty quick, probably, to claim your spot. Now, going forward, they might roll out a few more of these opportunities, because right now, this is no entry fee for this. So typically, you have to go to a race in person, a 70.3, do the race and qualify there. You have to travel there and all that good stuff. With this championship series, right now, let me, before I speak any further, let me see if the championship series going online right now to see. My understanding is championship series, there is no right now, there is no entry fee. So you don't have to chunk down $300 or whatever to try to qualify. You don't have to travel, you don't have to go there, you don't have to mess with all the logistics. You do it from home. Now the catch is you got to have the right gear in order to be valid in your competition. So we're going to kind of go over a few things. My background of being engineer and project manager, contracts are my life. So I'm very astute at going through and reading a contract, because most things, most T's and C's and fine print and all that stuff, people want to ignore it. But when push comes to shove, you need to know this stuff, because ultimately, at the end of the day, this is what they're going to hang their hat on. So if you don't follow all these recommendations and rules, you qualify and you do the competitions and you put that time and energy in, and because of a technicality, they could take away your qualification. So these are the things that I noticed. By no means is this a complete exhaustive list of everything that you need to do, but I think these are the important items you want to keep in mind if you're going to do the championship series. So I've gone through and just kind of looked through, because you had to go to the main website on Ironman. Then there's another website or another link that goes to a PDF of all the kind of more detailed rules, because there's some stuff on there that's on the main site. And then it also takes you to a PDF that Ruby has developed for their digital races rules and regulations you have to follow too. So it's kind of a three-parter of everything that you need to do. I mean, you can go to the website and kind of see all the information in there. So it's got all the same stuff in here, so you need to make sure that you're reading every little bit of it if you truly want to compete in this championship series, because if not, if you miss one little detail, you're out. So I'd hate for you to put that energy and effort into it, and then you get disqualified on the technicality at the last minute. So let's jump into it. So again, this is qualifying for the 2020 70.3 Worlds. They're supposed to be in Taupo, sure I just butchered that, New Zealand. But as of right now, on June 1st, and making this video, it's postponed to an unknown new date. So right now, I mean, it'd be nice to qualify, I guess, and then this is a 4-week period, so maybe in the 4 weeks they kind of figure something out, but we'll see. So anyway, just have that in the back of your mind. So the main thing is it's going to be scored over 4 weeks, and over the 4 weeks, there's going to be 3 5150 races, so basically an Olympic distance, and a 70.3. You have to do the 70.3, and you have to do at least 2 of the 5150. So they take the best 2 of the 3. Highly recommend doing all of them, so you have opportunities to kind of better your score and your times and all that. So 2 5150s and then 1 70.3. So make sure that if you sign up for this, you can do the 70.3 on June 19th to the 21st, which conveniently was supposed to be 70.3 Des Moines for myself, which got moved to October 3rd, but I had 70.3 Memphis. Oh no, it moved to October 4th, and 70.3 Memphis was October 3rd. So logistically, it was impossible to make both events. So I got hosed on that one. So I deferred 2021 for Des Moines. But conveniently, that's on the same weekend. So a training plan that I had adapted for that race could be applied. So make it more tempting for me. But make sure on June 19th to the 21st, you can do a 70.3 distance. Now we're going to get into rules and stuff because you don't have all 3 days. It's still, the window is from Friday afternoon to Sunday night. But the problem is, as we'll get into, I'll allude to right now, is you have a 12-hour window. So once you start one, you've got 12 hours to finish it. So you can't just do one on a Friday, do one on a Saturday, do another part on a Sunday, and get all that rest in between. So make sure you read the rules, but you have to do the 70.3. So if you cannot commit to doing that 70.3 distance, June 19th to the 21st, over a 12-hour period, don't even mess with signing up with the championship series, because that's going to be a qualification no-go. But right now for me, I got no races. I got nowhere to go. My wife works in a hospital, so she's pretty much going to have to be there. So I'm here watching kids. We took them out of daycare. We got no little summer programs going on, so I'm here. So for me, my calendar's wide open. So that's just the kind of the overall tidbits right now of the basic qualifications you need to do. So to be eligible, you have at least raced an IM virtual 5150 or higher. So if you've done one of the sprints, that doesn't count for the VR event series. But if you've done a 70.3 Ironman in real life or better, then you're qualified. So you have to at least have done a 5150 VR or a 70.3 in real life to be even eligible to sign up. And it'll probably let you sign up regardless. It's not going to go and check all this stuff. But if you sign up for the championship series and you think you're good to go, and you go race your heart out and you actually qualify, they're going to come back and say, well, guess what? You're not eligible. So you should have checked this yourself. So you need to do your background or your homework and make sure that you have the right background to qualify for this. So the events, this is different. They must be ran in order. So make sure you're paying attention to the part. So it must be run, bike, run. So your 5150 distance, you had to do the 3K, a 40K, and a 10K. The 70.3 distance, you got to do your 5K, 90K, and 21K. You have to do them in order. And you had that 12-hour time limit from start to finish. So if you start 7 a.m. on Saturday, you've got to be done by 7 p.m. on Saturday. Which, I mean, is nice. You do get some breaks. So, especially for myself, who I break up my long runs and other stuff anyway. I mean, it kind of gives me a good opportunity because I'm already used to that kind of stuff. But make sure you could do them in order. So if you've got anything that could possibly come up that could prohibit you from doing the run, the bike, and the run, and you have to do the short run, the bike, and the long run in that order over a 12-hour period, if you can't do it, don't sign up. But you still had the window from Friday afternoon to Sunday night. So you can still do them in that big time window, but you only got 12 hours. Once you start it, finish it, 12 hours. So make sure that you're aware of that. Some other tidbits. When you're looking through the run, and this is where I had to go through the actual PDF of kind of more stringent kind of rule. You know, it's less fluffy for the public consumption. But on the run part, these are the keys. You got to be outside for both runs. So that's kind of the same as the Challenger series, but outside. You have to have a witness that's willing to sign an affidavit that they saw you do this outside. So that's going to stop people from giving somebody else their GPS watch and letting them run around and run circles. Now, you can, people might have a witness and they'll just lie about it and sign an affidavit, but you have to have a witness that's willing to sign an affidavit. I'm probably sure they're going to have to be 18 or older. So you got your spouse, you got your friends or somebody with a lawn chair and drinking beer watching you do your run, and they're willing to sign an affidavit. Hey, great. So that's one very specific key. If you don't have a witness that's willing to sign an affidavit for the run and you qualify, you're out. You have to use GPS and heart rate, and the data must be public if they want to go look into this. So that's going to be key, because I believe on Garmin Connect, you've got to make sure your settings are set right, because a lot of people, I don't like to put all my stuff public out there. I have it public to my connections, but that activity has to be public. So if it comes back and they want to do some investigation, you got to make sure that you make this public so they can go back and see it. But you need GPS and heart rate. So, you can't go out there and ride your bike and you got a heart rate of 100 and you're running 6-minute miles. It's going to be obvious something's off. So if you don't have heart rate data, you could be out. So luckily for my, Phoenix 5 Plus, it's got optical heart rate, so that's not a problem. Cannot be net elevation loss. So you cannot run the entire run downhill. So they recommend it out and back. I've got some great loops here in my neighborhood that will work out great. So it cannot be, you can't start uphill and then downhill. The other thing is, I know with my Phoenix 5 Plus, I've got issues with the altimeter. So when I look at my runs, sometimes it doesn't have elevation information. So I'm going to get Garmin involved, get them on a help chat, and make sure we get that squared away. Because if they look at your data, now you might be able to prove it, go map my run or whatever, and be like, well, look, if I map my run, it follows my GPS, it's not a net elevation loss. But they want to make sure you're not running the entire thing downhill. So make sure that your elevation detection on your device is accurate. Or, like I said, worst comes to worst, you can go map my run or something and prove that it's a net elevation of either 0 or whatever. But this is interesting. You can use a track. So you can go out and run this at a track, outdoors. So if that floats your boat, you can go out there and run a 13.1 mile run on a track and have a net elevation loss of 0. So it's not negative, but you can have 0, so you can go run on a track outdoors. Like I said, for me personally, I think I've got a nice loop around my neighborhood that's about a mile, and it gives me good, solid, it's not downhill or whatever, and it's just a nice loop, and it's a good opportunity. But so make sure you plan your run right. It's got to be outside. You got to have a witness that's willing to sign an affidavit. GPS and heart rate data. Cannot have a net elevation loss. You can use a track if you want to. So that's the key points I kind of found in the run when I was going through the information as far as the actual rules for the PDF. And then when you go to Ruvi, there's a link to the Ruvi digital race rules and regulations for your biking. So it starts getting a little bit deeper here. So stay with me. You have to do the ride on the Ruvi app, and you have to do it on the course that is designated for the week you're doing it. So if you go back to the Championship Series race weeks, June 5th through the 7th, they'll announce what map or course or whatever they're going to use on the Ruvi app, and that's one you have to use. So you have to use the right Ruvi course. So if it's 5150 Arizona and you 5150 Boulder, it's not going to count. If you qualify, they're going to come back and say you rode the wrong course on the wrong week. You're done. So ride the right course and keep the files for 14 days. So don't go in and wipe your history and your data clean. Keep your files on Ruvi for 14 days. I'd even back them up off your computer and back them up to keep them stored just in case you do qualify and they want to go back and they want to look at your files to make sure that everything looks on above board. Do not pause your event, or in the outside runs too, do not pause it. If you pause your recording device, whether it be the Ruvi app or whether it be your GPS device, that is cause for disqualification of the championship series. So do not pause it. If you drop signal, if that's, because sometimes I know my trainer just drops signal randomly. So just keep going. Do the course and whatever, and then let it shake out how it shakes out. But if you have a mechanical issue on your bike, do not pause your watch. I would go back and stop the ride, delete the ride, and then fix whatever, and then restart the ride and do it again. So be careful with that with your 12-hour window. If you have mechanical issues or some other issue that pops up, you want to have an opportunity, a little bit of flexibility in your time if you have to restart something. So no pausing your event for mechanicals, for anything. If you have to get up and go to the bathroom off your trainer, you have to leave it running and leave it sit there. So bear that in mind. Now, if you want to pee on the bike on the trainer, you know, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to come to your house and say that that's just not right. But hey, if you're in for the competition, then go for it. Heart rate monitor is suggested, and I would highly recommend this. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more tricky because I know on my Ruvi app, it does not detect my optical heart rate. So I've messed with it and jacked with it and tried to get it to detect it, and it will not. Because Bluetooth is a little picky, especially with signals and other things are reading it and all this other mess. So I'm going to dig out my Bluetooth heart rate strap, try to get it all set up to get Ruvi going, because I think having that heart rate data, while it is said is suggested, I think it is going to be key if it comes down to it. If somebody's questioning your results, if you don't have heart rate data to back it up, now maybe you record it with your GPS Watch 2 and have that file on backup and say, well, I couldn't get my heart rate monitor connected to the Ruvi app, but I've got the identical workout information. You can strip out the heart rate data. Like I said, if I can't get the heart rate strap to sync up and I want to do the championship series, maybe I'll do that. I always record my rides with my GPS watch anyway. So have a heart rate strap, heart rate monitor, whatever. Make sure Ruvi can record it. You have to calibrate your trainer at the start of the ride. So I would validate that with a picture or a video, something. Because I could just ask you and you can say yes, but if someone's got a picture of it and you don't, you're probably going to lose. So you have to calibrate your trainer at the start. So figure all this stuff out now. If you're going to sign up, figure it out before Friday afternoon when the official window starts. You don't want to be fumbling around with this stuff and your 12-hour clock starts ticking. You've done your run and you can't figure out all this information to do your ride in your window. So figure out how you need to calibrate your trainer to make sure that it's accurate when you do the ride. This is going to be the tricky part. You have to set your weight on Ruvi to the weight you record. You have to take a photo of your weight 8 hours before you start. So you got to time that right. So if you're going to start at 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning, you need to go weigh yourself at the right time. So you need to be 8 hours in advance. So before you go to bed, you know, if you go to bed at, what is that? Like 10 and 11 o'clock the night before. So you have to have a photo of your weight 8 hours before the start. And then you have to be on the scale in the photo with the weight showing. So my interpretation is you can, before you start your ride, you could come, stand on the scale, take a picture of it, and that's your documentation. Make sure you save that picture if it ever comes up. So, picture of your weight at least 8 hours before the start, on the scale, with you on the scale and a digital reading showing. So you're probably going to have somebody help you out because a picture of your feet on the scale aren't going to count. All your Ruvi data has to be set to public, so if they want to go dig through, they can. You must use a pre-approved trainer. So on the website, they've got a list of trainers. Techno Gym, My Cycling, Tax Neo, Neo 2T, Neo Bike, Flux, Flux 2, Flux S, Wahoo Kicker, Kicker Core, Kicker Bike, Ceres Hammer, H1, H2, H3, Elite Diretto X, Drivo 2, and Suito and Zumo. Those are the only trainers you can use. So if you've got a Ceres Magnus, unfortunately you're out. So this is where the cost comes in a little bit. Some of these trainers are more expensive than a race entry to a 70.3. Luckily, I already have the H2, and I always highly recommend the direct drive anyway. So you've got to use the trainers they recommend, or you cannot do the championship series qualification. You have to use race mode in Ruvi, so that's key. You cannot use the training mode. So on the designated course for that weekend, you have to use race mode. So it's not making it any easier for you when you're doing the event. At the end of the event, it clicks done, and it gives you the final summary screen. Take a screenshot or a picture of that. So you got to know your rules. I wrote them down. I'm going to have them with me if I do the championship series. Because if you don't do any of those steps, they can automatically disqualify you because you just don't have your documentation. So, you know, it's a little bit different when you do it in person. All you got to do is just go out there and race your guts out and try to qualify. And maybe there's, you know, it's still anti-doping still qualifies or still is pertinent. So just make sure you're not doing anything you're not supposed to as far as doping or anything like that. But, I mean, this is more documentation than you usually need to carry around to qualify for 70.3 championships, which rightfully so. I mean, this is all kind of on your honor doing it at home. So we've gone through an exhaustive list of the qualifications, and it's all right here on the internet. You can go read it. So my recommendation is if you want to really go out there and see what you got virtually, I think this is a great opportunity. There's definitely ways to maximize your potential, but you got to stay within the rules and the boundaries that Ironman has set forward. So make sure you read the rules, read the site, and understand what you're getting into before you sign up. Otherwise, you can be disqualified. And if you put all that effort into it, and at the end you've qualified, and then they ask you for all this documentation for each event, you don't have it, you're not qualified, you're out. So just want to do this little kind of almost a public service announcement, just going over that championship series, because some of my athletes have kind of already asked what my thoughts on it are. I think it's great. I think it's a great start, great opportunity for those that maybe don't have the means to get to events, especially right now where we're dealing with a global pandemic and races are happening right now, and they haven't happened since mid-March. So I think this is a great opportunity to get us out there doing different things, but know the rules. Outside, done in order, 12 hours, tutorial window, know all the trainer information that you got to make sure that's on board. Make sure you have all your documentation lined up. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. There's other rules on there. Read the rules. Do not just watch this video and think, oh, I'm up to speed and I'm good. Read the rules, read the directions, make sure you understand, ask questions, be prepared, because once the clock starts, you've got 12 hours and the clock is ticking. So make sure that you're ready for this. I hope to see you out there. I think make sure that all my T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and I think I want to go ahead and sign up for the championship series just to see for fun, just see what I can do, where I can place. Add a little bit of competition, because personally I don't have anything going on until August 2nd, and we're all kind of sitting and watching and seeing if that happens. So any questions or any comments, any concerns, any thoughts, put them on the video, and I'll be happy to hear from you. Talk to you later. Bye.